This week's crypto recap, the biggest airdrop to date, Jupiter, with some people getting up to $10,000 straight into their wallets. How can you get a piece of that? FTX as well starts trending, stating they won't reopen the exchange, but a lot of people will get all their money back. That is 100% of their claims back. And of course, we give you an update on some of the altcoins we think you should know about. We cover all this right here and now in today's weekly recap, actionable insights, and a breakdown into the crypto market all in under 30 minutes. So as always, we'll start with the market update, followed by the biggest airdrop to date so far. So Matt, what does the market look like?
Hi Leon, great to be back. The market this week was etched up a tiny bit higher with, Bitcoin still, really keeping above that $40,000 mark, or in US dollars that is, which is, very, very important. And we've talked about a lot before about why that level is important. So the more time it can spend above there, I think really confident for another leg higher, hopefully through into the 50,000s for Bitcoin. So currently at the start of this week, it's at 43,000. Importantly here, it was actually obviously the end of January since our last weekly podcast, and Bitcoin closed its monthly candle in the green. So that was now five straight months of gains for Bitcoin. That is the longest streak since later in 2020. So a very long time between a 5-month sort of streak of gains. So, naturally the mind sort of straight away goes to, maybe Bitcoin is due for a bit of consolidation and sort of bouncing around at these sidelines or these sideways sort of price action. That's at least where my head goes to when you do see such a crazy streak. So we'll see if that does play out sort of as we head into the halving. I think the halving is about 75 days away or so. Just quickly on the macro side of things, always important to keep an eye or two eyes on the situation in the global economy. And obviously interest rates in the US are sort of what is driving sort of appetite for risk, and therefore by extension sort of appetite to invest in cryptocurrencies. So it's always important to keep track of what's going on there. And we really saw some comments by the chair of the central bank, Jerome Powell, in recent days, basically pouring cold water over the ideas that there will be rate cuts in March. If we remember at the end of last year, I think the market was really pricing in, 3 or 4 sort of rate cuts in 2024. I personally thought that was quite ambitious and pretty unrealistic. And the Fed is definitely sort of taking a bit longer, I think, than the market maybe thought a few months ago to make their first rate cut, which I think would be very symbolic. And, why a rate cut's important for the crypto market. Again, you just see sort of a more of a risk on attitude by investors when rates are on the lower side, rather than the opposite. So always important to keep on top of there. And, we also did see some jobs numbers in the US come in last week as well, which were, again, we always talk about comparing these figures to expectations. Ultimately, that's what moves the markets. And we saw the US adding a whopping 360,000 jobs in January. And that was against the economic forecast of 180,000. So that difference there is just a massive sort of miss by the market. And it indicates that the US economy is really, really humming along, which in the Fed's eyes would be something that they may be a bit noteworthy of or taking stock of, in the sense that, hey, maybe we should just hold off cutting rates because that might stimulate the economy even more. And all this comes back to inflation. They're wanting to sort of keep inflation as low as possible. So when the central bank sees job numbers going up so strongly, you can understand why Jerome Powell is sort of pouring cold water on the idea of sort of imminent rate cuts. So we don't normally cover macro, so much on this podcast, but I really wanted to start this week's one off with that sort of update, because I think it gives you a really good sense of where cryptocurrency, may be going as we sort of continue. Obviously, we've talked a lot about, why this year we still think I'm really confident it'll be a very, very strong year for crypto. But yeah, I guess it really gives you an idea of maybe the pace of the market and how quickly that sort of crazy bull market might come.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, as you said, we do cover crypto a lot here, but we also keep it on track of the macro factors and how that actually affects your crypto portfolio. Because as we know, as the interest rates do go down, people go out into looking for higher risk assets, and Bitcoin is in that category at the moment. And so people end up buying more Bitcoin. It's very simple, right? Now, thanks for the update there, Matt. Always macro factors to look at. Jerome Powell always making moves in the market. But I think let's go back and circle back into crypto. Let's talk about what we're here to listen to. For example, Solana, and the biggest airdrop to date, I would say. This is called the Jupiter Protocol and the Jupe token. So Matt, I'm not sure if you got some of this airdrop. I got some myself. So this was Jupiter. Just to give you guys some context if you're listening at home. Jupiter is the biggest DEX on Solana. What is a DEX? It is a decentralized exchange where you can buy and sell your tokens very easily without KYC and no centralized entity behind the scenes. So they are a protocol. Until recently, they did not have a token, Matt. And so they said, oh, Leon is a customer of ours. He's come and done some swaps here. Matt is a customer of ours. We're going to give them some of our tokens. And that token is called the Jupe token. Now, how did it actually go? It went pretty well, right? For context, Jupiter is huge. It did nearly $4 billion in volume just in November last year. I don't know what the recent stats are, but it rivals Uniswap, which is the biggest DEX in crypto so far. Now, how could you have gotten some of this? All you had to do was do a few swaps on there, use the platform, use the DCA feature, and even be a part of their Discord group. So totally, we're looking at about $700 million worth of Jupe tokens were airdropped to 1 million wallets, which makes it one of the biggest airdrops in crypto history. The good thing is Solana blockchain did not buckle at all. All the wallets were able to claim. Took a little bit of time. It was a bit shaky at the start because everyone's rushing in. Imagine like a Target opening its doors in the morning on a big sale. Everyone wants to pile on in. And so it does take a bit of time for people to funnel through those doors. But everyone ended up getting it. Solana didn't shut down, which is part of the FUD in Solana. Now, my friends, people got at a minimum 200 tokens, which were worth $100. And some people were able to claim nearly 20,000 tokens, which is worth $10,000, which is really impressive, Matt. I managed to get a little bit of that myself. So, Matt, let's jive on this a little bit. I think what's the point of the token, right? We got this token. We used their protocol before. Why should we really be interested? I've got my ideas, and maybe you can chat with me about it as well. So the point of the token, it's a governance token. The whole idea is that they have a vision for Jupiter on Solana. They say they want to bring 10 times more people into Solana. Now, how they're going to do that, it's not quite clear yet. There's no action plans they want to do. It's a lot of vision, and it's a lot of like, oh, we want to do this. We want to be the Google of the internet, where you can come here, do a search, or in their case, do a transaction, and it's going to be free. And it's all the other services that we offer. That's what's going to attract people. So, Matt, I wonder what you think here, because people can go ahead and farm this now if they want to. Every January for the next 3 years, there will be more airdrops. I wanted to get your take on just your opinion on, governance tokens and airdrops that come into people's wallets, and, are the tokens really worth it? What do you think?
Yeah, there's so much that we can unpack. I think this Jupiter launch we could really honestly talk about for about an hour or so, but we'll take we'll keep it a sort of summary. I also just want to emphasize as well I did see quite a few accounts getting more than 20,000 tokens, Leon. I saw a few that I follow on Twitter or X, getting 100,000. I think one of them might have got 190,000 Jupe, which is about $100,000 US, give or take. To Australian dollars, that's about 150,000 Australian from an airdrop. It was quite changing
amounts. That's a house.
Quite remarkable.
Right there.
It really is. So well done to anyone who genuinely used it for all those years. This Jupiter is one that I'm extremely confident will be here for as long as Solana exists, really. And I think it'll be one of the leading projects in the Solana ecosystem for years and hopefully even decades to come. Interestingly, not just being a DEX and an aggregator, like you said, Leon, they're expanding to other areas. I think they're getting into perps or perpetuals, getting into sort of the derivatives market, similar to maybe DYDX or GMX for anyone who is familiar. Then they're also doing their own sort of launchpad feature. Interestingly enough, the JUP token was the first, essentially dog fooding, like Jupiter was dog fooding their own product in a way by having the JUP token launch as on the Jupiter token launchpad. And it was the very first, I suppose, one to go through that process. And it taught the team, I think, a lot of the maybe obstacles or challenges that they didn't really think would arise. One of them in particular was on the communications and the comms standpoint. I think it was a big case study for project founders when you are explaining such a novel mechanism of how this token went live, and especially given it's so different of how it went live compared to many other typical airdrops. We're not going to get into the mechanisms of how that happened, but just understand, if you are listening or watching, the way this launch was extremely different to so many other hundreds of project launches that you see. Therefore, there was a lot of mass confusion about, if how the project was genuinely sort of maybe raising money or maybe how honest they were being, et cetera, et cetera. I think it was honestly just a big misunderstanding. And again, like you, Leon, I'm very bullish on the team themselves. But yeah, we'll continue on here in terms of the utility of the JEP token. It's interesting, I think, as you say there, not really having it used as maybe fees and things like that, which you might typically see like fee discounts on maybe like a centralized exchange token or whatnot. I did notice the founder even hinted at JUP holders or maybe stakers. If Jupiter does launch a staking functionality, they will very, very likely have a claim or almost entitled to a portion of any JUP, any tokens that launch via the Jupiter launchpad, because they will be voting on which projects are, I guess, going to be going through this launchpad. So that's an interesting sort of bit of piece of utility and potentially some extra value add to the token price as well. But yeah, in terms of how much utility gets baked into this, I think time will tell. I would be shocked if they add any sort of fee revenue or fee switch, as they like to call it, just because, again, it's like we always use this analogy on this podcast of you wouldn't really have a startup sort of paying out dividends when they're in full-on growth mode. It's you can use that analogy with these tokens as well. So yeah, I think a lot to learn, I think, for project founders and even investors in the past week or so. One thing, I suppose, in terms of price, just very quickly, is we've got this range that again, we're not going to get fully into the mechanisms, but there was this range that the team does have in between 40 cents and 70 cents. For anyone who's been watching this price since it launched, you'll notice that price has been within that range the entire time. After 7 days, that sort of those parameters, essentially, to really try to simplify it, will more or less be removed, and I would expect price to go in discovery over, and it may very well break either above 70 cents or below 40 cents. So that's what I'm expecting to see sort of later this week. But yeah, there's a lot to dissect, and I'm really looking forward to, already chatting it through with members in Collective Shift, but constantly like sort of keeping them updated on what Jupiter does, because I expect the Collective Shift team will be covering Jupiter for many years to come.
Undoubtedly, every January there will be a big ass airdrop. So if you are interested in airdrops, make sure you go and check out the Collective Shift airdrop page. We kind of already had an eye on this before. We give our ratings and we tell you a little bit of instruction on how to get qualified for this. But I think we'll leave it there, my friends. Okay, you've got enough information out there. And if you want, come and chat to us at the Collective Shift team. We'll chat to you about Jupe. I think we'll leave it there, Matt. So let's move over from Solana, though. Let's go to the big dog, Ethereum. Right, Ethereum has become a little bit forgotten recently, but it's had a giant upgrade that went really smoothly. So, Matt, what's the update with this Ethereum upgrade?
Yeah, so this Dencun upgrade, as it's called, many were expecting it. If you cast your mind back to last year, many were hoping it would come by the end of last year. That did not happen, and we've seen it getting pushed out to January, February, and now the testing that they've been doing in recent days has been going quite smoothly. The final testing of this upgrade, there are 3 Ethereum testnets, so the third and final sort of test will be happening on February the 7th. That'll be US time. And if that goes all smooth, it is widely expected that the core developers will agree on a mainnet date sometime within the next sort of week and a half. Why does any of this matter? Well, Ethereum, as we might get to, I think a bit later in the episode, is really struggling for narrative and attention at the moment. We'll cover that a bit later. But I think if this does go really smoothly for Ethereum, this testing, I think it will be something that can benefit sort of the sense of optimism around the Ethereum community. And as we've talked about, we've covered this many times over the past 12 months, but the big hope here is that, this Dencun upgrade will result in users of Ethereum layer 2s having a lot significantly cheaper sort of transaction fees, which, in theory would sort of encourage more people to even use these layer 2s and people to build apps and protocols on these layer 2s. So exciting stuff there. And yeah, the consensus at the moment, just to wrap it up, is that a mainnet upgrade, so this Dencun upgrade, will be hitting Ethereum mainnet. Now the consensus is maybe mid to late March. I think people were starting to drag out their predictions to April, but this testing did go really well. So mid to late March, I would expect to see the core developers agree that, hey, this will be the date it goes live.
Yeah, that's right. And guys, with all of these Ethereum dates, make sure you take it with a grain of salt, because this is a brand new kind of development, brand new space in crypto where they're just experimenting first. They're going to make sure it's safe so people can actually use it. So if they find something that's not going to work well for the rest of Ethereum, they're not going to implement it yet. They're going to wait, do more research, and then implement it. You want to make sure your funds are safe. Otherwise, the whole credibility of the Ethereum Foundation kind of goes out, right, Matt? So they've got to make sure it's good enough to use.
Yeah, just very quickly. That's why you saw the whole market basically have an expectation last year, 6 months ago, whatever, that, hey, this could come out by the end of 2023. But anyone who was paying attention knew that the core developers had not even mentioned any date at all. So it was just a consensus formed by the market. Turned out that was incorrect. So it got perceived as a delay, but in reality, there was never a date mentioned. So it's a good point there, Leon. And yeah, you've got to really, if you're going to play it more conservative, you should really wait till the core developers actually lock in the date, which, as I said, should happen some stage in the next week and a half.
Awesome. Well said, Matt. Now, let's move on to some of the next biggest topics, which I think a lot of the members, even at Collective Shift, have been looking forward to. Now, this is FTX, the behemoth exchange that went bankrupt a while ago, I think over 2 years, maybe 3 years by now. So this FTX exchange, they are saying some new things, and it sounds really good, Matt. Guess what they're saying? They're saying that people might be able to get all their money back, which is 100% of it, which is really incredible. You don't see a bankruptcy company coming out of bankruptcy and giving all of the money back to people. That means they're they're still got all the money, which is weird. Why they're going bankruptcy? So there's a little bit of nuance there that you need to understand. So Matt, if you can update us on this, and we can riff on this together a little bit, because even I'm a member of the FTX claims,
Yeah, sure. So in November 2022, when FTX went bankrupt, you may remember that the crypto market back then was really deep into a bear market. So when they did collapse, probably people's funds that were in there had probably lost a lot of value. And since then, those cryptocurrencies, a lot of them, particularly Bitcoin, ETH, and the major alts, and Solana, obviously, have gone up quite dramatically. The really important point to know here is that these refunds from the FTX liquidators to users are based on the prices that were at the time that FTX basically ceased to exist, or went broke and went into voluntary administration. So that is why there is still a bit of uproar, and I think a lawsuit maybe being filed in the US, I think, or another jurisdiction about the creditors, or some disgruntled creditors, saying, hey, we should be entitled to more of this. So that might still play out. But again, like anything, I think just take note of maybe the communications from the liquidators if you are an affected user. I know FTX Australia sort of has their own separate comms. And yeah, it's something that we did see, have been sort of anticipating a lot. People were buying and selling their claims on secondary markets, and some people might have got a good deal because it wasn't looking too great. Probably 6 months ago, before markets were really starting to roar back. But it's great to see that 100% of the returns to users is looking very likely. I will note that it's not yet guaranteed, but a lawyer from FTX did say last week that it is extremely likely that they'll get reimbursed one for one based on those prices back then.
That's great news, Matt. That's great news for some of our listeners out there. And I think the two big differences here is that, yes, there is a price thing, which we'll discuss very shortly. I've got a few thoughts on that. And then the next thing is the AI company that FTX had a little stake in, and that ended up doing quite well. It was a company called Anthropic. And so that has helped bolster the treasury of the FTX estate. But going on to the price thing, this is very important, I think, Matt, that the members and listeners should know. So to clarify on that, let's say last year or whenever it went out of business, right? You had one Bitcoin, just for an example. You had one Bitcoin and it was worth $15,000. And then FTX stopped. Now Bitcoin is worth let's say $40,000. You're not going to get $40,000 back. You're going to get your one Bitcoin back, which is going to be $15,000. So really, you won't get one Bitcoin back. You'll get $15,000 instead of 40 as it's worth now. So just keep in mind, it's not going to be the same value, market value that you have now. It'll be when it went out of business. Very important nuance there, which is why some people are pretty upset, which is why people will say, give me my Bitcoin back. Give me all my Ethereum back. They don't want, Australian dollars. They don't want US dollars. They want their Bitcoin because that's what they want. That's why they're in Bitcoin in the first place, right? Yeah, so very important difference for people to understand there, Matt. I think, would you agree with the kind of summary I did there?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, awesome. So now let's move over a little bit, still in the bankruptcy space. Let's talk about Celsius. I've got a little bit of information for any of the users out there in Celsius. So if you had any claims, which was also a bankrupt company, Celsius, if you haven't heard about them, the app is shutting down. That's the Celsius app is shutting down now. And they also are getting ready to disperse some of the claims from the Celsius app. So if you had an account there, all you have to do, according to the documentation, and I want you to go and read it yourself, is I want you to go and see if you have a Coinbase account, because that's primarily where most of the distributions will be going out to, both PayPal and Coinbase. So they're saying if you have a Coinbase account, make sure the email address is exactly the same. That's how they're going to know it's you. And then check the rest of the details on there. So go get your Coinbase account, because that's where you'll likely get your Celsius bankruptcy claims back into. Now, we're not sure about the actual percentages back. Some people are saying it's about 26% back in liquid crypto. You will get some stocks of the new company, but I'm going to let you go and check that yourself, okay? Now, if you ask us what are the tax implications of FTX and Celsius, my friend, I want you to go and speak to your tax accountant. Right, Matt? We are not tax accountants over here.
100%, Leon.
That's it. Now, you're probably listening to us here. We talk about FTX, Celsius, Solana. There are other altcoins in the market, my friends. So you probably have some of these tokens in your portfolio. I think it's worthwhile we talk about some of the updates for some of these altcoins. Now, DYDX is one of the biggest ones. Matt, what happened with DYDX?
Yeah, we saw the DYDX Foundation launch liquid staking last week. So that is the ST-DYDX token. Just getting on top of that liquid staking narrative there, DYDX. So they've actually collaborated with Stride, and we've got Stride here airdropping around 150,000 STRD tokens to holders who decide to liquid stake their DYDX tokens with Stride in the next 120 days. So yeah, just a quick comment here on liquid staking and liquid restaking. We've been covering a lot of collective shift for members the past sort of 12 months or so, and it's sort of gone to a new level here in early 2024 with a lot of these early projects launching massive incentives to try to get people to sort of stake through their protocol, and you can really earn some really solid returns from these elevated or artificially high sort of promotions or rates. So that's just something that I've really noticed in the space in the past few weeks. Next one here is one of our all-time favorites, Leon, in Magic Eden. What have you got for us?
Yeah, so Magic Eden, which is one of the, it used to be actually the biggest NFT marketplace on the Solana ecosystem. They started coming out with Magic Eden Diamonds. So what that is their version of a point system. This is a new narrative, everyone. The point system narrative has officially started, which means we don't quite have a token yet, but you come in, play with us, you get some of these points, and then maybe you'll get an airdrop or some tokens later on down the road. So these are retroactively airdrops, so please go and have a look at your Magic Eden account. if you've done anything on Solana or even Magic Eden, it's very likely you may have some diamonds in there. Now, the diamonds, they're saying, will be swapped later on to the token symbol NFT, which will be Magic Eden.
How has no one taken that ticker?
How has no one taken that ticker? I know, right? I know. I'm sure there are other ones out there, but nothing as serious as this. But it's good marketing anyway for them. So yeah, if you want to see, go to Magic Eden, biggest marketplace. But I think, Matt, I've got a little theory here, Matt, and I want you to tell me what you think. Magic Eden has been losing market share to Tensor on Solana. Tensor is kind of like a really, really fast, really quick, responsive NFT marketplace where a lot of the traders go to, and Magic Eden has slowly been losing market share. So the points narrative on Solana has been coming back. So all of a sudden, Magic Eden is like, okay, we got to get on these points. We got to get all our users back. Now we have these points. Now you come here and you come and trade with us. But so far, we don't see it working so well. Everyone still likes Tensor. We'll keep updated on this and tell you what the new airdrop is going to be like, called NFT.
Yeah.
Really interesting stuff, man.
Yeah, well said, Leon. And yeah, a good response. Tensor with the outright sort of, hey, we're going to launch a token. Everyone's known that for a while. Magic Eden being a bit more cards close to their chests. And now we'll see if launching these diamonds actually work to sort of get them back some market share. I would just also encourage people to keep a lookout on Magic Eden, because obviously we know that they support Bitcoin blockchain, Ethereum blockchain, I think maybe Polygon. So I think they have more or less said that they will also be, giving some diamond sort of perks, maybe some retroactive airdrops to people who have used that version of Magic Eden as well. So maybe having notifications on or subscribe to Magic Eden's newsletter. And of course, we'll try to keep you updated as well in this podcast.
Yeah, awesome. And they have that multi-chain wallet as well. So, you can check out not just Solana, you could go to Polygon and even Bitcoin ordinals if you're interested in going through the Bitcoin network. But that's enough about Magic Eden and Solana. I think we always talk about Solana every week, Matt. Let's go on to Sui. What's happened with Sui, man?
Yeah, so we have Sui here, which is a blockchain that launched in really during the bear market with Aptos. They often get mentioned together. Sui announcing their development roadmap, or at least Mr. Labs or the entity behind that. So they've actually got quite a stacked roadmap for, I guess, their development framework and the Move language as well, that they are sort of best known for really as a point of differentiation from other blockchains like Ethereum and Solana. So Sui is one that I have been meaning to get into their ecosystem and start playing around with their apps and whatnot. So yeah, it's one I think to keep on your radar.
Yeah, awesome, man. I think I'm just having a bit of tech difficulties at the moment, but I think I hear you. Let's go on to XRP. Now, XRP, my friends, has actually had a small security incident. If you own any XRP, you should be on the lookout. You should be subscribed to the chairman, I think, the chairman, Chris Larsen. Now, he had a security incident where he was hacked for 213 million XRP. Now, how much is that in dollars worth? XRP has a very low unit value, which plays into the whole unit bias. So that's actually $112 million, my friends. That's going to be one of the biggest individual crypto hacks in crypto history. I would say that's really close up there. It's not an exchange, it's a single person's wallet. Why does one single person have $112 million of one token? That seems like a lot, doesn't it? But that's just my opinion. So that's XRP. Make sure you keep an eye on that. The price hasn't reacted very well since then, so please keep an eye. Now, what about Immutable X, Matt? Something else has happened with Immutables.
So this is ZK EVM. So it's basically a blockchain being built by Immutable in partnership with Polygon. That has actually launched on mainnet in a limited capacity. There's been a lot of anticipation about this, really targeted at games, obviously being Immutable. We've always been hearing gaming is in for a massive 2024 and even into the years ahead. So really watching Immutable ZK EVM to see if this particular blockchain can get a lot of traction. And I'm sure the Immutable sort of team is going to be putting a lot of maybe incentives and marketing behind this as well. So yeah, we'll see what happens of that in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, that's right. New products launching every single week in I was going to say Solana, but in crypto now. But my friends, let's talk about, start ending it. Let's look at things that we think you should look forward to in the next week or so. Now, I've got two things for you, my friends. If you want to join the fray in Solana, if you want to join all the airdrop farming and all the points farming, you can do that. It costs very little to actually get involved in this ecosystem. You can use up to $2 and you can be a part of some of the biggest protocols in Solana. You can go to Parcel, Meteora, Jupiter, Camino, and you can start farming some of those points. But as always, please be cautious, tread lightly. And the next thing I want to share with you, something I think is underappreciated, Matt. I think Ethereum is underappreciated at the moment. It's being left behind. It's stuck between Bitcoin's ordinals and Solana's points and airdrop farming season. It's like wedged right in the middle there. It's people aren't talking about ultrasound money anymore. People aren't talking about returns and being a safe asset. And no, it's not like that anymore. So I don't know if it's Solana's Ethereum is being forgotten. I think it's being unappreciated. So I think watch out. I think in the next few months we might see a resurgence or a new narrative that might come from Ethereum. Maybe the ETH layer 2 narrative resurgence comes back, or new progression and updates comes back, and all of a sudden Ethereum is the new hot asset on the block. So Matt, that's what I think. I want users to watch out for that. Just keep an ear out, see what happens in the space, see how the narratives change. Matt, what did you think listeners should look forward to?
Yeah, we've got here Farcaster and Warpcast. I'm sure people in the crypto space have heard a lot about this in the past sort of couple of weeks, or at least you probably will this week, because it's really starting to catch some fire. So they've got sort of lightning in a bottle, so to speak, with a certain feature that went live recently. So what is Farcaster really? It is a social media protocol, and really targeted at leveraging different features or benefits of sort of smart contracts. They do have different clients, so just think of them as different apps. You've got a Reddit version of Farcaster, can't remember the name of it. Similarly, you've got a Discord version of Farcaster, which I can't actually remember the name of. The main one is Warpcast, which is very close to Twitter. However, some really crucial and I think very actual value adding and I think significant improvements on Twitter, most notably this feature that got launched and what has really kickstarted this massive wave of people signing up to, Farcaster via sort of the Warpcast app or client, as they call it. This feature is known as Frames, and it really essentially, we always talk about wallets as being such a massive pain for users who are new. If I want to go play a game or something and have to click and go to perform an action in the game, then I have to sign the wallet every time I need to make a move and make sure there's enough gas in there, etc. These frames, which are embedded directly in your what is like a Twitter feed, but it's through Warpcast, you can perform functions within this little box that is on your feed, such as minting an NFT. You can answer polls. You can play all sorts of games within the browser itself, which is something that's really interesting at a time when all these social media platforms are really trying to essentially ghost ban any outbound links, where they really punish any links that are shared by not showing them in the feed. This is actually almost doing the complete opposite of that. And yeah, honestly, you're starting to see a lot of innovation, hackathons for these frames, and a lot of incentives by the base team, which is connected to Coinbase, of really incentivizing these hackathons. And it's really starting to work, because Warpcast here in Australia is now number 27 in the Apple App Store in the social networking category. In the US at the moment, it's ranked number 34. It's always been supporting Ethereum. Obviously, a lot of it is built on the base blockchain, which is a layer 2. However, the Farcaster team has said that they are launching Warpcast or supporting either the Farcaster protocol itself, I think, or Warpcast itself for Solana in the next week or so. And yeah, I would really like to end it just in saying that this crypto space is quite, I think people overlook the fact that it's a one of a kind. I think that word gets thrown around a lot on that term, but I think crypto is a one of a kind in the sense that how richly you can be rewarded for using apps very early and just being curious with your on-chain sort of history. People who signed up to Farcaster before October, it's been out for maybe a year and a half now, but anyone who signed up before October and was actively using Farcaster has earned almost 10,000 US dollars worth of airdrops in the past week or so. Many of them have earned quite a bit more than that. Again, just from being active and basically using a social media platform that is very similar to Twitter. So that's let alone the Jupiter stuff that we said at the start of this episode, with people getting 100,000 US dollars in airdrops, and let alone all the other stuff that we've talked about recently, like Jito. We've got the Dimension airdrop, Celestia airdrop, and dozens of other airdrops that we've covered on our collectiveshift.io/airdrops page. I really just wanted to close it off by just saying how unique and honestly life-changing crypto can be for people who have the time to be curious and just to play around, not even with much money, as you said, Leon. Quite amazing, and hopefully Farcaster and Warpcast can really take this momentum and go to the next level.
That's right, Matt. Well said. All you need is a little bit of capital and a little bit of time to start experimenting in crypto. And all of a sudden, you've got so many airdrops, you don't know what to do with them. And now you're questioning what the tokens do for you. But Matt, I think that's good wrap up there. As Matt said, check out the airdrop section in the Collective Shift platform. We always keep it updated. We just updated it recently, so see some of our newest picks out there. But that's a wrap, my friends, for this week. If you're looking for more insights, you make sure you check out the revamped weekly Shift newsletter. It provides free market updates every Friday. So make sure you subscribe at collectiveshift.io/newsletter. That's collectiveshift.io/newsletter. We will see you next week. Bye for now.